Corradi did what he could do. So Father, help us to use what you've given us. Ben, would you come forward, please? Yeah. I've got pinch hit for Tyrone. He likes to present his book to each of the speakers here, so he asked me if I would do that privilege, so that's from Tyrone, Ben.
Thanks, Tyrone.
And then I asked Bedell, would you introduce Ben to us? And say a prayer for him too at the same time, okay? You got the microphone there.
Okay.
Bless you.
So this is going to be a little impromptu because I just got asked to do this. So, one of the things I've been doing since I've been elected in this community is trying to learn as much as I can about everything. And it's tough because you can't be an expert at everything. Everybody has their own little path that they're on, and most people stay within it. But one of the big things that I started to look into is education within our community, and especially within our college and what we're doing here at Bemidji State University to expand, and bring people in here to teach our youth and everything. And then the Charlie Kirk thing happened. And that was a big thing. And, from the time that happened, it really affected a lot of people around here, and especially me because I used to watch them all the time. And then I heard that there was a Turning Point chapter opening. And I was like, "Whew, yes." It was really good. And, that's when, Ben, he asked me to speak at the event they hosted. But I want to hit on something that most people don't really think about. The courage right now to stand up on a university is pretty substantial. And especially when you have a certain belief. And, to stand up for what Charlie was doing is crucial, that we need to continue with that vision. And I think this right here is a great example of what we need. We need the youth to stay strong, to continue doing what they're doing, but to also stand up in some adversity, some tough areas where we need to. And we don't really see that too much now. We don't really see a lot of kids breaking out. We have a lot of people trying to just maintain. And I think we have right here is we have a path creator. I have, right here is a person I believe that's going to carve a good path and in his future, and I think he's going to make some good waves. And I'd just like to say a little prayer here for you, and thank you, God, for giving Ben this opportunity to speak with us today, and for his strength, and for all the good things that were going to happen to him in the future. In your name we pray. Thank you.
Thanks, Bedell. Well, thanks everyone for inviting me. I know a lot of you, but for those of you that don't, my name is Ben Corradi. I'm a 21-year-old. I'm from Bemidji, Minnesota, and I'm going to just structure my testimony. It's only about a little bit over 20 minutes maybe, so it's not very much. I'm only 21. I'm pretty young. But I'll just go by, really it picks up in high school, so I'm going to just briefly touch on my childhood and youth, and then once high school hits and college, then it gets a little bit more serious. So, like I said, I'm from Bemidji. I go to the college. I'm a student athlete. I play on the baseball team. I'm majoring in political science and criminal justice, so I'm double majoring. And then so I have next semester left, and then the next year, and then I go to law school. So that's my goal, attend law school in a year and a half. And then in my free time, I really enjoy golfing. I like to read books, enjoy working out, and I really like to work. I like staying busy and being productive. So just going back to my childhood, I grew up going to church. I had a great family, good Christian parents, 3 sisters, a really good family. I went to Northern Elementary School, just north of town. I had really good friends there, great teachers, kindergarten through 5th grade. And I had one teacher who really stood out, and that was Jeff Wade. Some of you probably know him, but he's big into sports, hunting, fishing. You walk into his classroom and he has mounts on his ceiling. hides hanging. It's really cool. And then he's a Christian. And he led FCA at the high school for, I don't know, like 30 years probably. So he's an influential figure in my life going forward. But that's who truly really introduced me to education and making sure that it's important in my life, and then also combining it with sports. So yeah, my childhood was really stable, God-filled, and it was full of blessings. And as I mentioned, I'm big into sports. I started playing in 3rd grade. That's typically when sports kind of start, and that's around the age 9 or 10. So I played football, basketball, and baseball, and baseball was definitely my passion right from the start. I enjoy sports because you learn hard work, you learn how to time manage, and then most importantly, you have a desire to win. And I think that's really important in today's culture, is winning. As someone mentioned, like not just going along with everyone, but trying to be the best and helping others around you. So sports definitely shaped a competitive but grounded mindset in my life. And then going into high school, not being on travel teams anymore and having a varsity team and JV team. So 9th grade, it was a new year. It was great. I loved freshman year, but it was still kind of concerning going in that first week because you don't know what to expect. But it was a completely new school. I had great friends coming in just from the baseball team and everything. Jeff Wade led Fellowship of Christian Athletes, so I was a part of that. It was great. You're starting to drive. You have a lot more freedoms. And then my older sister, her and her friend group, so she was 4 years older than me. So when I was entering high school, she was just graduating. So we didn't have time to overlap, but her and her friend group, she had a really good Christian friend group, and she started a Bible study, and it was called Lord's Flock. And it was just it started off with her friend group just getting together and doing a Bible study. And then it grew to, there was probably like 30 or 40 people coming to it. And it was just held at separate people's houses. It was primarily held at the Corradi household, my house, or the Stone. I don't know if you guys know Coach Stone. He's at the college, Jim and Heather Stone. So it was mainly at our house. And it was just a big blessing to be able to hang out with Christians. And this was kind of during COVID when there wasn't a lot going on. So it was just good fellowship, and it was just a really good time. So life was really good 9th grade year. My 10th grade year, that's when things, a lot more maturity happened. You grow up. You're not a freshman anymore. You're physically stronger. You're mentally wiser. Overall, you just grow up a lot in that year. And also, sports definitely ramped up in serious 10th grade year. Football went well, basketball went well, and then baseball came along. And my best friend and I, we made varsity our 10th grade year, and our whole other friend group was on JV. So there was definitely a difference when him and I made varsity and all of our friends didn't. Yeah, I think it definitely created some jealousy, and it created some problems within the friend group. But which was a bummer because you grew up with them and they're still your teammates and friends. But anyway, so with him and I being on the team, we definitely bonded more. And him and I, we've always typically kind of bonded with the older guys just because they're more mature. They're typically better athletes because they have more experience. So we just always have bonded better with the older guys. So him and I, Ethan is his name, we always stuck together. But it really changed the friend group. And Ethan and I, when people would be jealous or gossip, we kind of had a motto. Our motto was, it's not our problem. When people are talking bad about you, you don't join in or give it back, because as a Christian, that's not what you do. It's not your problem to have jealousy, and it's a horrible thing, but it just wasn't fun. But Lord's Flock, the Bible study, it helped greatly, make friends, have good connections. And then that's where I met my girlfriend too, who's a great person. I love her. And yeah, she's a Christian too, which is awesome. So then Lord's Flock is great. 10th grade's a harder year. 10th grade summer, baseball's in the summer, obviously. So it becomes even more competitive because now everyone's competing for spots. But like Ethan and I would always say, it's not our problem. You focus on yourself, and you're not giving it back. Come 11th grade, school becomes a lot more important because you have to start studying for the the ACT and the SAT. And those are what give you scholarships and college benefits. So as wanting to play college baseball, I not only had to focus on baseball, but also on getting the right grades to get enough scholarships, because there's not many full rides out there for baseball unless you're going to some SEC school or whatever. But 11th grade, still had one really good friend, and I think that's all you truly need in life is one good friend. It's important to have one good person in your life. Your own age, not, your family's always there, but really to have one good friend. But my 11th grade year, I don't know what it was, but Lord's Flock, the Bible study, it just doubled in size, which was awesome. And there was non-believers coming. It was really good, a good experience. So that definitely, it's one thing to go to something, but it's a whole nother thing to lead it, because it's a lot more dedication and you have to be a lot more firm in what you believe and back it up. So I think Maya and I, Jim's daughter, we had conversations there was a lot more weight to it, it felt like. So just more responsibility. And I think that really grew. It makes a good leader to know what you believe in. And yeah, Lord's Flock definitely helped me prepare for where I'm at now. But so that was my 11th grade year overall. And now my 12th grade year, my senior year of high school. I would say this is the most influential year of my 21 years. Life's all about choices. And like I said, senior year in my mind was the most influential. It's where do I go to college? What do I major in? So on and so on. And I decided to go to Bemidji State because I had offers from St. Cloud, Crookston, Winona, and Duluth. And I didn't want to go to Crookston because it's just a cornfield. Winona, I didn't really pay much attention to. Duluth, I enjoyed. And then St. Cloud has a really good baseball team. But my dad and I were actually on a tour there, and there was a great team, good baseball team. But as we were on the campus, it went into lockdown because there was actually a gang fight. So that was kind of a sign that, maybe we shouldn't go there. It's a tricky town right now too. So I decided on BSU just because I was actually at youth group and we were singing, and I don't know what it was, but I was I looked around, I saw my friends, and I was and people in the community that I knew, and I was this is where I need to be. So I called my dad, told him I was going to go stay at Bemidji. He was happy. Then I called my coach at the college, Coach Matt, told him, and the next day I signed the paper of commitment. So it was actually really easy because just no regrets, which is an awesome thing to have. And then the next thing was deciding what I major in. And it was tricky because I've had such influential teachers throughout my life. And I was deciding between education, going to be a teacher, or going into law to become an attorney. And ultimately, God led me to be an attorney, so I'm studying pre-law. And both careers are really good, and you can make an impact in both. And I don't know what it was. I've always been interested in the law. It's black and white, right and wrong. And it's people coming to you at their worst, which I think is a really key position to have. You can give a lot of advice to them, and you can always look at them as souls in need of Jesus. And I think that's really important to have. And it's really good that we have jail ministries, because going into law, you tour the jail and you see how hard these people's lives are, and they're still souls. So it's really good you guys do that. Sorry, I have to drink water. I lost my voice at a girls' basketball game, which doesn't normally happen. So I decided on pre-law, and then, so those were two big decisions. And then the biggest decision, in hindsight, was I decided to give the senior speech at my high school. And there's the valedictorian speech. I unfortunately wasn't the valedictorian, but there was a commencement speech also, and you did tryouts for that. And it was myself and 13 others. So it was 14 of us up on a stage. There was a panel in front. It was the principals, counselors, a few teachers. And I ended up beating out everyone for the senior speech. And I was pretty pumped up because I like to do public speaking, and it's just, I don't know. I like to talk to my peers. And in that speech, I wrote, God bless you all at the end. And it was approved and everything. And then this was like probably a month before graduation. So then fast forward, it's baseball season. It's going well. Friends are getting along better. And what is it? It's senior skip day. So that would be like probably a Friday. And I get an email the night before saying from the principals, we'd like to meet with you in the morning. It's senior skip day. All my teammates were going out to breakfast before we leave for a baseball game. So I just skipped that. It's whatever. Annoying, but it's sure. So I walk in. It's like 8 a.m. Bus left at 9. And I walk into the office. And right when I walk in, I know something's wrong because there's every principal, every counselor. It was pretty crazy, honestly. And the hall monitor, Rohit, he's a Christian. And when I walked in, he just said, I'm praying for you. I was like, what? So then I walk in. Right when I walk in, I'm like, oh man, this isn't good, to myself. So then I walk in, I sit down. I'm sitting like in front of you guys. And they go, we want you to take your God bless you all out at the end. And I said, why is that? And they said, we don't want to offend anyone. And I said, that's fine. But I said, I have freedom of speech, and this is very important. And then the conversation, whatever, it went on. And then, yeah, just like, there was some other stuff in there. But I really stood on for what I believed in, and I said, I don't have to give this speech. You can give it to the next person, but I'm saying this on stage whether you like it or not. And I think by saying that, they realized that I wasn't going to change my opinion. And if I left, I would probably say something to someone, and they would be in trouble. So they let me do it. And that was like the first true test of my faith I had. That was major. I think it's important that you stand up for what you believe in, even if it's, you against something completely different. So that's when I really began to learn that God, He uses your decisions to guide your destiny. And that was like my high school. So it ended with a big bang. And I think it really prepped me for college. Like that last week of high school, I'll never forget it. And people close to me won't either because it was a pretty crazy time. So then, yeah, I'm ready for college. I'm excited. Freshman year of college, I did live in the dorms just because it's college. I wanted the college experience. And it ended up being a really good decision. Had a lot of new friends, new team, new teammates, different classes. I joined a ton of clubs. I'm on baseball, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I'm on Student Senate. That's pretty challenging, but it's good. I'm on the law club. And I'm on Student Athlete Advisory Committee. So they each team gets a representative, and I'm baseballs. So a lot of clubs, keep entertained. Once again, I met a great friend group. I bonded with the older teammates. They're awesome guys. And then the season comes. I played really well all throughout the fall, winter. But season comes, we're playing. And then bam, I get hurt. It's not fun. I tore my ACL and my meniscus completely. And I was just shocked. You don't realize what's happening until you're actually being carted off the field and it all hits you. So that was super hard. It takes about a year to fully recover your body. And then surgeons say about another year mentally wise to take off your brace and stuff. So I'm starting to come around now because it's been about a year and a half. But that was a major detour. But looking back, a year and a half ago, it was seriously one of the best things to happen because as Romans 8:28 says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So that injury, it was a major detour in my athletic abilities, and like even just getting around campus and crutches and a full-on leg cast, like in the dead of winter, it's not fun. But I'm just like everyone in here has all had detours in their life, and none of us want them in our lives. But like my injury going forward now, what I'll speak about, sometimes our detours are our destinations. And I was reading back, I was like the past few weeks I've been thinking on who I want to relate to in the Bible for this. And I found Jim Stone, the soccer coach, he does a Bible study with a few of the athletes at the college at his house. And we're going through the book of Daniel. And Daniel definitely went on a detour. He went into the lion's den. And I think that's the biggest detour that is like mentioned in the Bible. So I'm going to try and relate to Daniel. So like Daniel, I was thrown into an unexpected den in a sense, not with lions obviously, but like with disappointment and uncertainty with my career, baseball career wise. And you just don't realize it, but you just have to remember that God, he doesn't make mistakes. It's hard to see, but that's why we just have to say like, Lord, I trust what you're doing. I don't have all the answers, and that's why our faith is so important. But there was a quote from Charles Stanley that we were going through in our Bible study, and it's one of my favorite quotes, and it says, when Daniel was in the lion's den, it goes, Daniel didn't have his eyes on the lions, but on God. And I think that's super important in our lives. Like whatever detours we have in our lives, if we're in a lion's den, our eyes, they can't be on the lions, on the distractions. You have to be focused on God in the worst times of your life, because that's what's going to get you through it. And if I would have had my eyes on all my worries, uncertainties, there's no way that situation would have become any better. Because the more you focus on a problem, the bigger it gets. And yeah, you just have to put your trust in God. We don't have all the answers. So that was my freshman year, mainly getting hurt. My sophomore year, so last year only, my friends, they graduated or they transferred out, the older guys that I bonded with. And that was it was really unfortunate because they were my good friends. And I was still recovering from my knee. I can't practice. It wasn't fun. And I don't do well not being busy. So with not being busy athletically, I kind of did other stuff. But there was a verse that my sophomore year, which I loved, and I have it written on my calendar, and it's Psalm 46:10, and it says, be still and know that I am God. And I think like when you have an injury or something, or you're bedridden, you can't do anything. So you just have to be still. And I think that verse really, it's just stop striving and worrying and panicking, especially during times of chaos. And if you're a busy person or a workaholic, I think that's easy to forget. We need to just chill out, and just, learn stillness. So I kind of shifted my mind from what I can't do to what I can do. And that more focused on the clubs I'm involved with. And I'm on student senate. That's pretty difficult to be on as a conservative Christian. So then I wanted to start my own thing. So that's when I kind of started Turning Point, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. But as I'm going to the training room every day. You develop like great relationships in the training room because there's other hurt athletes in there. And your trainers, they want the best for you. That you see them every day. And then you see the other athletes too, the football guy who tore his ACL too. And like you just develop bonds and friendships with them, which you never would want to, but they ended up being great friendships. So that was my sophomore year. The year it ended with healing, both physically and spiritually, which was amazing. But it was a really hard year, but it was also the most transforming year of my life. And then my junior year, this year, so started in September, I'm healthy again. I had a great fall baseball season. And school, it's pretty hard now that you're up in your 4,000 level classes. It's challenging, but I'm doing successful, thankfully. And I've stopped mourning the past, like complaining, because I don't like complainers, so why complain? And then I decided, since I'm now an upperclassman, like I can't bond with the older guys because I'm an older guy. So now I'm going to bond with, I have some good freshman friends now. So I'm kind of the older guy that all those older guys were to me. And this year has just been a blessing. And then like the turning point, both literally and, spiritually was, so on September 4th, school started August 26th, a week in, I decided to start a Turning Point chapter at the college. And for those of you that don't know, I'm just going to read what it says on their website. Turning Point USA is a national conservative student organization started by Charlie Kirk. It promotes limited government, free markets, and individual liberty on campuses. It equips young people with resources and events to help them speak boldly about their values. Many Christian students feel connected with Turning Point USA because of their focus on moral courage, supporting Judeo-Christian values, and standing for truth. And this was I've been listening to Charlie Kirk for many years because I'm into politics. So I've like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Megyn Kelly. Those are my main three that I really like. And so I was talking with some students like, hey, should we start this? Let's get it going. And I had like students, teammates, faculty at the college, coaches even. They all encouraged me to start it. And then I said on one term, I'll start it, but only if they're also willing to stand boldly with me. And because I'm not going to do it alone. I need help. So they said, okay, they gave me their support. So then our first tabling event was on the college campus about 2 weeks into school. And that's where all the clubs get together. There's 88 clubs on campus, and we were the 89th. And it was amazing because like there's no conservative club on campus. It's just typically liberal or, your biochemistry club or something like that. So there's nothing that is for conservative Christians. And so we did our first tabling event. It went really well. And we have about 10 dedicated students that show up to the meetings. It fluctuates with like practice times and everything else or finals. But online, we have about 30 kids. And later this week, we're getting together with the president and possibly a few others to just discuss how conservatives can be heard better on campus. And last year at this time, this would never have been possible. Like, it wasn't even being talked about last year. So anyways, though, it was a great tabling event. And on September 7th, I got the call saying that I could meet Charlie Kirk on October 3rd in Grand Forks. And then 3 days later, he's assassinated. And I think the assassination, it really changed a lot of people's perspectives and viewpoints. Like, it wasn't just a political assassination, it was a spiritual assassination. They took out, a moral leader for the youth. I mean, everyone involved, but especially the youth. And, it was really sad. But then I was doing homework when I got the notification, and I was thinking to myself, who's going to step up? And I realized that person would have to be me. But comparing it to Daniel's perspective, Daniel, when the culture was telling him not to pray or not to bow on his knees, Daniel stood up in the window. And I think we need to be more like that. Just, here we are. We need to be more bold. And when Daniel was hated, he didn't gossip or get jealous. He stayed faithful to God. And even when he faced death in the lion's den, he trusted God. Don't have your eyes on the lions, but on God. And the world definitely needs more Daniels more than ever right now, especially in Minnesota. I was talking with the St. Cloud Turning Point president, and he said they are seeing a major shift, which is awesome, but there needs to be more Daniels stepping up, and it's really important. So, and I was talking with the Turning Point guy in St. Cloud, and he was saying similar things, and he's a Christian too. And we prayed, and he just said, here we are, Lord, send us, because there needs to be more people sent out that are willing to speak up about it and not be, cowardly about it. So, doors have really been opened, and what the enemy meant for evil with Charlie, God used for good. We wouldn't have seen the revival in the country happening right now if Charlie were, still alive today, which I wish he was still alive. But everything that's came out of it has been a positive, I think. So just in our lives, we need to be Daniels, keep our eyes on Jesus, not the lions, and be bold. Like, don't cower down and speak out when you see something, because there's definitely others around you that are just too cowardly to do it. So, yeah. But in conclusion, we've all faced detours in our lives, like injuries, loneliness, leadership challenges. It's hard to lead, especially a controversial movement, but there's pressures to stay silent. There's hard choices, but when you're confronted with challenges, you need to just address them right away, and that's ultimately what's best. So there's two themes that I think everyone should live by. The first one is detours aren't mistakes, they are preparations. And I just think when we go on a detour, that's oftentimes our destination, because God's controlling our lives. We can make plans on our calendars, but ultimately it's up to God to decide what we do. And I think we all need to keep that in mind. And then secondly, like I mentioned, and Charles Stanley mentioned, don't keep your eyes on the lions, but on God. And I think for Christian men, that's the biggest thing, because there's a lot of distractions, especially as college students. But when you focus on God, everything else is uplifted and everything else will be blessed. So that's honestly all I have. I'm only 21, so there's not much, but I'm excited for my future, and I'm appreciative of you all. So thank you for everything. Thanks, Jim.
Good job there, Ben. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow. What an inspiration.